in that scene. What was it like in the music scene coming up as Disturbed before you made that big break? What were bands that you were like buddy bands with that you started, playing with that made it to the next level with you, or did they?
Hmm. It was a weird scene. Um, there were two groups of bands in Chicago. The bands that were known as the South Side bands, the South Side Chicago bands that were typically a little bit more blue collar, a little bit more rock oriented, or hard rock oriented, metal oriented, I should say. And then there was, the Smashing Pumpkins and the Local H's of the world, more alternative kind of family of bands in Chicago. And inner city clubs didn't want to book metal bands, hard rock bands. And
Really?
And the South Side clubs became a haven for the hard rock and metal bands. I mean, I couldn't get a gig at the Metro back in the day. We ended up jumping on a bill with some friends of ours in a band called Lungbrush back in the day, and a singer called by the name of Roach, who's unfortunately no longer with us. But they gave us our first opening slot at one of the inner city clubs. We used to play a place back in the day. Thurston's. We've done all, and then in the South Side there was a place called Champs that became our home away from home. That's where we kind of built our base and expanded from the South Side there to the point where we were bringing 750, 1,000 people to a place like the Metro on an opening bill for, let's say, one of the other opening bills we got on as an opening band was for a band called Loudmouth. I'm sure some people remember back in the day. Those guys initially didn't want to give us an opening spot on their bill, but we kind of proved ourselves and proved that we weren't going to be too metal, not cool enough for the bill. It was a weird scene. Back then, we had to go the unconventional route. We weren't welcomed with open arms. We had to force our way in.
I find that to be the case with many. The divide between alternative bands and metal bands kind of still to this day. Unfortunately, there are so many similarities, especially the great metal bands that incorporate a lot of melodic vocals and things like that. So
it's a shame too, because I mean, we truly do have great respect for one another. We do. Yeah. I love Billy and the Smashing Pumpkins. I think he's incredibly talented. I love Scott from Local H. I love, the Alkaline Trio guys in Chicago. I mean, there's a lot of really great alternative bands that have made their mark and deservedly so. What I didn't understand was the attitude of the clubs. It wasn't the musicians that there was a problem with. The elitism didn't come from them, for the most part. It was like, oh no, we don't book your kind of band here.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, what are they afraid of? Yeah, what was the worst thing that ever happened at Champs? Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Now all those venues are begging for you to show up.
Right.
That's all right.